Good morning. My name is Ann Perry, and I'm a senior at Dunwoody High School. This fall, I will be attending the University of South Carolina and currently plan to major in education and minor in Spanish. It feels so crazy to be finally standing up here. I've read the call to worship the past 3 youth Sundays and then thought to myself, how can I possibly find the words to describe the experience of growing up in a place as amazing as Dunwoody Methodist? Well, my friends and I are going to try to. Just like many of the seniors graduating this year, I was baptized as a baby at DUMC, and I've grown up in this church. As I grew older, I found myself spending more and more time here. A big reason I chose to spend time here was the friendships that I've made. I've been lucky enough to know many of these seniors since we were in Miss Cindy's Little Lamb Choir, VBS, or Children's Sunday School. Over the past 15 years, we've grown up together. They've become more than my friends. They've become my family. We have 70 seniors in the class of 2017, and as a group, we've been incredibly active in this church. Each and every one of the seniors has carried the slogan of the youth program to connect, grow, serve, and lead extremely well. When I think back to the time I've spent here, serving on the Committee of 100, working in the leisure ministry, or playing ridiculous games like Box Wars with the youth, I can't help but think of and thank all the people I've met that have shaped me into the person I am today. Stephen Street, Lane Davis, Andrew Chappell, and Karen Bass are just a few of the amazing youth leaders that have helped me grow. They have not only witnessed me grow physically, but they have helped me grow spiritually. The biggest lesson that I have learned from going to Dunwoody Methodist is the importance of giving back. I've been on 5 mission trips, multiple service retreats, and have participated in many different events, one of my favorite being the potato drop at the Great Day of Service. I participated in these service events, not for service hours, but because I felt the Lord's call to serve. When I was in 6th grade, I had the opportunity to go on my first mission trip to Orlando, Florida. That week, we focused on a verse from the book of John. John 15:5 says, "You are the vine, I am the branches." I remember spending the week sweating outside, showering in tents, and singing so loudly during worship that I lost my voice. To finish out the week, we celebrated all of our hard work with a day at Universal Studios. I remember riding big roller coasters for the first time and having tons of fun with my friends, both old and new. As we were walking out of the park, Ann Harden, Allie Womble, and I stopped a jewelry cart. We spied some silver bracelets with sayings on them. And one of them was engraved with the words, "You are the vine, I am the branches." I bought the bracelet and came home and told my mom this story. She explained to me that what I had experienced was a God wink. A God wink is when the Lord comes and shows a physical message to you. I prayed about this. I asked God what it meant. I determined that the Lord was telling me to continue mission work. This summer, I will go on my last mission trip with the youth group to the Bahamas. Even though it will be my last mission trip, I plan to continue mission work through college, and I look forward to whatever God has in store for me. I'd like to take the time to thank all of my friends, youth leaders, and family for all of their help over the last few years. I couldn't be more blessed to have such amazing people in my life. Although I'm sad to go, this church will always be a second home to me. Thank you.
Good morning. Hey, I'm Kevin Hopper. I will graduate 4th in my class from North Springs High School and will attend Georgia Tech next year with the intent to major in aerospace engineering. You can bet I'll be saying, "It's not rocket science. Oh, wait," for the rest of my life. I've been a member of this church since before I can remember, but I felt as home here for as long as I can. I've been blessed to have such amazing opportunities to connect and grow with such an amazing congregation through various activities, dinners, and groups hosted by the church. I made my first friends in preschool here, and so many years later, I'm glad that I still have the opportunity to meet new people at this wonderful place. Through events and opportunities such as the Great Day of Service, youth breakfast club meetings, mission trips, fall retreats, and that one strange anchovy pizza encounter, I've come into contact with so many amazing people in the church and across Dunwoody. I love the fact that our church offers so many accessible ways to become a part of the family for children, teens, and fledgling adults. Except for Bridge Club, I've always wanted to come by and play, but it runs at the same time as school, I guess I'm just not the target audience for that one. My bridge playing career just may never have been in the cards. I still want to learn to play though, so Okay, so many people join our church for non-card game related reasons though. It's amazing. I've met friends who joined with our youth group for mission trips and have come into contact with the church that way. I have friends who I never used to see at church on Sunday, but who come to every breakfast club meeting, at least that I've been to. I met my best friend Will through church. We're not zoned for the same school, so I might never have met him otherwise. And I'd say him and I have had a pretty good run. I'd toast some hot chocolate to that. Through thick and thin, the church has been here for me, and I'm thankful that it provides a positive, constant force in my life. Of course, I've messed up too. I mean, no stories about mistakes, right? I'm just thankful that there's always been forgiveness for my mistakes coming from this church. This may not be an especial grievous error, but I particularly remember acolyting for one early 9 o'clock service back when I was in middle school. I say acolyting for this service, but to say I acolyted the entire service might have been a bit of an exaggeration, because I'm telling you all this, and don't go spreading it around. I might have been a little bit sleepy that morning. But it's not my fault, of course. I tell you, that chair that morning was probably the comfiest chair I have ever sat in. And the sound setup was set up in such a way that the sermon wasn't clear, but soft, muffled, soothing. And now that it comes up, it was incredibly warm on stage, too, with all the lights and everything. I mean, what was a poor boy to do? So I fought off the yawns for as long as I could, but it was hopeless. Now, listen, I don't remember who was preaching that morning, but I do remember the sermon. It was about the 5 steps to reach happiness. And I'm going to tell you some of them right now. That's great because I heard most of step 1. Okay, you had to look for experiences. I heard thought through step 2, where you had to reach out to those experiences. But steps 3, 4, and 5, I will be happy to tell you about them as soon as I hear them. So, throughout my life and through most of my mistakes, the church has always been behind me, ready to support me. I'm thankful for my youth group, for Stephen, Alan, Lane, Andrew, Brittany, Courtney, Michelle, Petrish, Montana, and of course Miss Bass. I'm thankful for Wiley and Dan, who, if you haven't met, is just as awesome as his hair. I'd also like to thank my friends and family for guiding me along my spiritual journey. And most of all, I'd like to thank you all for being here today, for being here last week, for being here next week, at Wednesday night suppers, at great days of services, at church, for coming together and providing a community not just for me, but for everyone whose lives you touch. Thank you, and God bless you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Olivia Milam, and I'll be graduating from Dunwoody High School later this month, and I'll be attending Georgia College and State University in the fall. Today, I have the privilege of talking to you about growth and specifically how I've grown in the past year. If you've had the chance to meet me over the past few years, you'll know that I am always at this church. And if you hadn't had the chance to meet me, I'm always at this church because this church is my favorite place in the world. And this church is like a second home to me. I feel like I've grown more in my faith in the past year than any before. This year has been a year of firsts for me. It was the first time I've done discipleship, the first time I've smashed an air hockey table, the first time I was asked to chaperone a retreat, my first time working in a church, and so much more. It was also a year for some even bigger firsts in my life and in my faith. I got the chance to chaperone a middle school retreat this year. I would say this was the catalyst that sparked my growth this year. I was very apprehensive about going on this retreat because I had never been on a retreat without any of my close friends. I was also not very close with some of the youth staff. I had actually only met Patricia and Montana once before going on this retreat. But saying yes to chaperoning that retreat ended up being one of the best decisions that I ever made. They went from being 2 people that I've met once, Patricia and Montana, to being 2 people who I can talk to about anything that's happening in my life. I also felt closer to God than I had ever before on that retreat. I also started doing discipleship with Patricia this year as well. Discipleship, if you don't know, is basically like one-on-one small group, or how I like to think of it is like the Big Brother program. Discipleship really helped me grow in my faith and helped me grow as a person. In discipleship, we would talk about parts of my faith that weren't as strong and about things that I struggled with. Patricia has become like a second sister to me this year, and I really appreciate her and all that she's done for me. This year, it was also the first time that I felt really connected to God. I had the chance to be an intern for the church this year, for the youth staff. And through this, I was at the church every day. I formed closer relationships with the youth staff than I had previously had, and at the same time, I felt like I was forming a closer relationship with God. I see God a lot in all of them, and by working with them every day, I felt like I wanted to be more active in my faith and get to know Jesus more. By wanting to be more active in my faith, I decided to become a more active member in our youth group. I got the opportunity, as I said before, to chaperone 2 middle school retreats this year, and that was such an amazing experience for me. I've also got to know people in the youth group who I hadn't known before, and I've made great relationships and some of my best memories in this church. This year was also the first time that I felt like I took my faith into my own hands. I stopped going to church because my family was going, and I started to go because I wanted to go. I felt like I just stopped going through the motions of the church and decided to be fully present. I believe that because of this, next year in college, my faith will be stronger. So, Patricia, Montana, Miss Bass, and Andrew, thank you for always helping me along my journey and making my faith stronger, and also always being at the church to hang out with me. Thank you.
Good morning. Okay. My name is Casey Lowry. I will be graduating from Chamblee Charter High School later this month and attending Kennesaw State University this fall to study nursing. Similar to my peers, it's safe to say I grew up in this church. I was baptized in the old chapel. I began my education career in our preschool. I was confirmed on this very stage by Wiley Stevens himself, and I spent my last 6 years as an active member in the Dunwoody Methodist Youth. I've participated in every aspect of youth, but the most influential to me was serving. I've always really loved to serve. When I first started, I thought of it as an opportunity to give back, and nothing more than that. As I started getting more involved in things like Mission Mondays and Food Stock, I also started going on mission trips with the youth. This is when I began learning what serving really was. My sophomore year, I attended my first trip to the City of Refuge. For those of you who don't know, the City of Refuge is Atlanta's largest women and children's shelter, located 20 minutes down on Joseph Boone. At City of Refuge, I learned that serving isn't about just doing for, but being with. To be a minister of God, you have to go beyond just physically ministering, because real serving is found in the relationships built. Later that year, I went on my first international mission trip to Eleuthera, Bahamas. I learned many valuable lessons here, but the one that stuck with me most is something our site leaders would say. The person in front of you is the most important person in the world. Galatians 5:13 says, For you were called to freedom, brothers. Only do not use freedom as an opportunity for the flesh, but through love serve one another. Through love serve one another. This is the most important thing that my time at Dunwoody Methodist has taught me. When you serve one another through love, you will serve in a way greater than you can do through performing any task. As I continue my faith journey, I will take these lessons with me. As I previously mentioned, my intended major is nursing. That decision came heavily from the idea that one day I can use that to serve anywhere in the world that God calls me. So before the music begins to play, I want to give a huge thank you to my church, to the friends I met along the way, and to everyone who has helped me become the person I am today. Dunwoody Methodist is my home. I find comfort in the fact that no matter where I go or how far, I can always return here to open and loving arms. Thank you.
Morning, y'all. I'm Will. I'm also a senior at Chamblee. I'll be graduating later this month, and then next year I will be attending the University of Virginia, where I'll be doing a dual major in environmental science and management and German. If there's one thing I learned from my 7 years in the DUMC youth program, it's how to be a leader. I've given devotions, led small groups, played music in our praise band, chaperoned multiple middle school retreats, took part in many youth councils, and represented the youth group for 5 years on the Committee of 100. All of these honors and responsibilities have shown me how rewarding it is to serve God and to lead others on their faith journey. I've also learned that In order to be a good leader, one must first be a great follower and pupil. Following the teachings of Christ has taught me how to lead and spread love and happiness. Being an active participant in Sunday school has taught me humility and empathy, two qualities often found in leaders. I don't know if y'all know this about me, but I compete in track and field. Over the years, my coach has trusted me with greater responsibilities. From team leader sophomore year to co-captain last season, and finally this year, I was given the title of senior captain. None of that would have been possible without the leadership skills that this church and this youth group taught me. I look back on my years with so much fondness and so much thanks. All the friends I've made, all the connections, the love and the honor that this community has given me, all the youth leaders and Sunday school teachers I've had. I'm forever grateful for that. I'm forever grateful for everything the DUMC community has done for my family, and no matter where God's plan takes me, I know I will always be able to call this church and this congregation home. Thank you.